And you said that you made a traffic stop after work, but you didn't call it in.
I didn't call it in.
We're here to talk to you about
Case 1. Amber Geiger. This is Amber Geiger, a Dallas police officer who was sentenced to prison for fatally shooting her neighbor in his home. The incident happened in 2018 when Geiger entered the apartment of her neighbor, Botham Jean, and shot him twice. She claimed she thought it was her own apartment and believed he was an intruder.
Quite often, we don't want defendants to take the stand. In this case, she had to. She had to tell her side of the story because the evidence was overwhelming.
I heard moving around inside my apartment.
What type of moving around?
Like loud shuffling, someone walking.
What did the figure do after you said, "Let me see your hands"?
When the police arrived, they found Jean seriously hurt and tried to save him with CPR, but he died later at the hospital. When Geiger was interrogated, she showed the same emotions as she did in her 911 call. During the court trial, the prosecution argued that Geiger acted unreasonably and recklessly.
This path is very revealing because it is consistent with the fact that Bo was getting up from a seated position and facing the door as Amber Geiger was coming into his home.
They stated that Jean was in a defensive position when he got shot. The defense argued that Geiger made an honest mistake and was defending herself.
Amber Geiger firmly and reasonably believed that she had no choice, that she had no options but to use her gun to keep from dying.
After much interrogation, Geiger admitted to killing Botham Jean. Geiger was sentenced to 10 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 5 years.
We, the jury, find unanimously that the defendant did not cause the death of Botham Jean while under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from an adequate cause, and assess the defendant's punishment at 10 years imprisonment in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. In addition, we assess a fine of $0.
An unexpected moment of grace happened in this case when Botham Jean's younger brother, Brant, forgave Geiger and wished her well. The presiding judge, Tammy Kemp, also showed kindness by hugging Geiger and giving her a Bible, telling her to read it and find God. Case 2. Wayne Couzens. This is Wayne Couzens, a Metropolitan Police officer who was arrested for kidnapping and murder. This incident happened in 2011, following the murder of 33-year-old Sarah Everard. On March 3, 2021, Sarah Everard was followed by a white car rented by Couzens. Dashcam footage showed Couzens using a police warrant card, handcuffed her, and driving away towards Kent. Sarah Everard was sexually assaulted, strangled, burned, and dumped in a pond near Couzens' property. Detectives later found human remains and questioned Couzens, who denied knowing her.
So we're here to talk to you about Sarah. Show the picture. Do you know Sarah?
I don't know.
Okay. Sarah went missing. I'll show you some pictures of her on the day.
But the officers, being convinced he was the killer, continued to interrogate him. Couzens initially claimed that he was being pressured by a gang of Eastern Europeans to kidnap Sarah.
So we're here to talk to you about Sarah. Show the picture. Do you know Sarah?
I don't know.
Okay. Sarah went missing. I'll show you some pictures of her on the day. Sarah went missing on Wednesday. Her parents obviously and her family are really worried about the inquiry that's been conducted so far has led us to come and speak to you about it and to see what you know about Sarah, okay? So, would you like to, do you know where Sarah is?
No.
Right. Do you know anything about what happened to her?
I know that she went missing up in London somewhere. About a week ago or so, just from what I got on the news.
Okay. Have you ever personally met her?
No, not personally, no.
Have you had any interactions with her at all?
Why would I have personal interactions with her?
Well, it's very difficult because I can't go into a lot of the evidence because obviously that's not part of what an urgent interview is, okay? This interview is just about trying to find her.
Sure.
She's been missing for a while now.
I'm sat in handcuffs and you're asking me what I know her. So you must have something to say that I know her.
Well, as I said, you've been arrested on suspicion of kidnap, and we believe that you've been involved in her disappearance and taking her away from her family.
Okay.
So we are trying to find her. Obviously everybody is very worried about her. She's got, parents, she's got, she's got siblings, she's got a boyfriend. There's a lot of people that care about her.
Sure.
You've seen her on the news, the people that are reaching out about her.
Sure.
Out there looking for her every day. And she's missing. And our job, our primary job here is to find her. And to try and find her safe and well.
Okay.
Now, we believe that you know something about where she is, and that's why we're here, to look for her, and to try and find her, and that's why we're talking to you now, and to try and get you to have a good think about it. Just anything you can about it.
Okay. Well, I am in financial, and I've been.
Finally, Cousins pled guilty and was sentenced to life imprisonment with no parole. He also received a 19-month sentence for a prior offense.
The first of the offences in time involved A, who was cycling up a narrow country lane between Deal and Dover on the 13th of November 2020 at around 2:30 in the afternoon. Photographs of the lane in question show that it has a banked verge up one side with some woodland at the top. As A cycled up, a man stepped out from the trees. He was naked, energetically masturbating, his erect penis looking directly into A's eyes as he did so. The victim personal statements of A, B, and C, read in court just now, speak justly of their shock and upset at this defendant's selfish, sexually aggressive acts. All have spoken of their sense of freedom and security taken from them, of feeling vulnerable and fearful for themselves and others going about their ordinary lives. One woman, after discovering who had done this and what he had gone on to do, speaks of a wholly understandable sense of survivor's guilt. The defendant is attending via a link from his prison. He's to stay seated where he is. For the offence against A, count 2 on indictment number T 2022-0638, the sentence is one of 19 months imprisonment.
The judge stated that Sarah Everard's murder might have been avoided if the authorities had taken the earlier case more seriously.
The fact that no police came to find him or his black car to question him about these incidents.
The fact that no police came to find him or his black car to question him about these incidents can only have served to confirm and strengthen in the defendant's mind a dangerous belief in his invincibility. Case 3. Daniel Holtzclaw. Meet Daniel Holtzclaw, a former officer of the Oklahoma City Police who was found guilty of many charges including sexual assault and other sex crimes. Daniel targeted African American women with criminal records and drug problems, believing they wouldn't report him because of their fears. He was questioned at the police station where he used to work.
And you said that you made a traffic stop after work, but you didn't call it in.
I didn't call it in.
Where was that?
It was about Northeast 50th and Lincoln, just to the west.
Okay.
Despite the possibility of video evidence, Daniel continued to claim he was innocent.
Well, was there anything, an accidental touch, anything?
If she thought it when I passed her, but it was nothing as far as I felt like I would do anything as far as sexual or anything like that.
She's saying that you made her lift up her shirt, and when she lifted up her shirt, she exposed her breasts.
No.
She said she said she was doing this.
His DNA was tested to see if it matched the evidence found in his car. Daniel's conviction relied mainly on DNA evidence and victim testimonies, some of which were later proved to be false.
So this is good evidence?
Well, you tell me.
I think so, because I mean, y'all, even if he didn't even rape nobody, nothing, he's been in contact with people that he arrested.
Despite this, Daniel claimed his DNA was planted and did not come from direct sexual contact. He was eventually found guilty on most charges and sentenced to 263 years in prison.
Count 34, sexual battery. Defendant is guilty of the crime of sexual battery and punishment is set at 8 years.
Daniel, visibly distraught, cried uncontrollably as the judge read the rest of his verdict. He still claims he is innocent till today. Case 4. Zachary Wester. This is Zachary Wester, who is charged with racketeering and false imprisonment in Florida. As per reports, the 28-year-old former sheriff's deputy was accused of planting drugs on unsuspecting motorists during traffic stops. The drivers denied knowledge of the drugs but were arrested anyway.
It appears to be an illegal narcotic. Do you know anything about that?
I do not.
Some of Wester's victims had other prior offenses, which made the alleged possession charges even more serious. For the poor souls who resisted and protested innocence, Wester used his taser on them. Suspicion arose after arrests, leading to an internal affairs investigation of the cam footage. During the trial, Wester pleaded not guilty to all charges.
The drugs were there. I did not put the narcotics there.
However, the prosecutor found something suspicious in one of Wester's body cam footage. Some of Wester's victims also testified in court.
You've robbed me of my credibility being a mother and a grandmother for the last 3 years. I've probably missed 1.5 years of my grandbaby's life because of this. I wish you no ill will, and you'll never know what you've done to me until you have children of your own. So,
the jury found Wester guilty of 19 out of 67 charges and sentenced him to 12 years in prison.
In the state of Florida versus Zachary Tyler Wester, case number 19-CF-431. We, the jury, find as follows as to the counts charged in the information. Count 1, guilty of racketeering as charged. Count 2, not guilty. Count 3, not guilty. Count 4, not guilty.
This is what happens when a cop who is supposed to protect life ends up destroying it. Case 5, Jalen Fleer. Jalen Fleer, a San Diego County Sheriff's deputy who uses his power to assault minors. This incident was discovered when Fleer was being investigated based on an anonymous tip by Crime Stoppers.
It started with a Crime Stopper report, so we're just kind of going from there. We did receive a picture that, when we looked into it, it looks similar to you. So I don't know if you can take a look at the picture and just tell me if you've seen this picture before. Oh, I have like 15 million things here. Okay. Whoop. So this picture right here.
Yeah, that's definitely me with the gross one.
Okay. So this picture right here, how old were you when it was taken?
20.
20?
Reports indicate that Fleer communicated with underage girls on Snapchat, seeking to meet them for sexual encounters. He allegedly offered them money, with one victim being only 12 years old. He asked these girls to invite their underage friends, promising them more money for doing so.
Do you have any younger friends who are interested in older men? I'll give you money to hook me up with them. The younger they are, the better.
The prosecutor presented the explicit messages Fleer sent to the minors. He said that the girls were reluctant to report him to the police because he was a police officer. His attorney asked for a lenient sentence, stating that Fleer and his wife are expecting their first child.
Mr. Fleer and his wife were expecting the birth of their first child. The child was going to come any day. And Mr. Fleer, without hesitation, said, "I'm ready to surrender."
Fleer was sentenced to 12 years in prison with no parole. But before the ruling, the judge has something to say.
Police need to be able to control folk, no doubt about that. There must be control, but there's a limit to how that's done.
Jalen Fleer will spend a better part of his life in prison for targeting minor girls. He will have to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life. Case 6, Aaron Dean. Meet Officer Aaron Dean, a former Fort Worth police officer who fatally shot an innocent woman through her bedroom. On October 12, 2019, a neighbor called the police non-emergency number. At that time, 28-year-old Tatiana Jefferson was having dinner with her nephew and left the front door open to let smoke out from the burnt hamburgers. When officers Aaron Dean and his partner arrived, they walked around the house looking for signs of a break-in. They didn't announce themselves, assuming it was a burglary. As Dean reached the back of the house, he saw a figure through the window pointing a gun at him and fired immediately.
The person that we now know as Miss Jefferson. I heard her scream and saw her fall like this. And I knew that I'd shot that person.
During the trial, Dean admitted he didn't do competent police work that night. The prosecution argued that Dean didn't give Jefferson enough time to follow his orders. Jefferson's 11-year-old nephew testified in court.
Where were you pointing again?
Dean was found guilty of manslaughter and was sentenced to over 11 years in prison.
Verdict reads, we the jury, having found the defendant Aaron York Dean guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the offense of manslaughter, assess his punishment at confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for 11 years, 10 months, 12 days. They do not assess a fine. and it is signed by the presiding juror. You may be seated. Thank you very much.
Reporters were unhappy with the conviction. Aaron Dean will spend nearly 12 years in prison for killing an innocent woman. What are your thoughts about these cops? Share with us in the comments. Please subscribe, like, and share the video.